Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video I just want to share the 7 or 8 books or so that I want to finish during the month of August. I've been doing pretty good, actually kind of finishing my TBRs, or getting pretty close to it anyways, but the first one I'm going to share and then the last one I'm going to share are both titles I'm just crazy excited about, and I've shared both of them before on different videos and stuff. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. So the first one here is going to be Children of the Northern Forest, While New England's History from Glaciers to Global Warming by Jamie Sayan. And this is all about basically woodlands and conservation of New England forests, as it says on the tin there. For those who don't know, I live in the middle of the Maine woods, essentially, in the middle of nowhere. I'm about as rural as it gets. And I just love my nature reads. I love getting outside and everything. And, the Maine forest has got to be a big portion of this book. I think Maine was 89 or 91% tree covered, I guess, at the moment, and that sort of thing. But the author definitely deals. He's a real deal activist. He's gone to jail for like some of his political like stunts and activities and for protesting and stuff like that. When he feels like the forestry services and the game services and stuff are not doing their job like appropriately. But yeah, so it's definitely one I was super excited about. The cover too, with the mama lynx and the lynx cub, it's just really cool. I've only seen lynx in the wild one time, but yeah, just like a really special moment and everything. But like I said, if you could write a nature book just customized for me, this is probably about as close as it's gonna get. And I did receive this for Father's Day earlier this year, so no sense in putting it off any longer. Next up, we got the Philosophy Discord channel that I run, our group read for the month. So we got Rene Descartes this month. I'm going to start with a discourse on the method, but I'm also going to, if I have time, I'm also going to try to do meditations on first philosophy that he also wrote. This is just like my notebook that I plan on taking all my notes and stuff in there. But Descartes is pretty famous. He's usually like what you read in the first or second week of like any like kind of intro or philosophy 101 kind of course in college and stuff. He's definitely very readable. He wrote, let's see, I think this, I want to say Discourse on the Method was like 1630s, if I remember correctly, around there in the early 17th century. But he's just kind of known as sort of the father, the beginning of like modern philosophy. He's definitely a big break away from kind of the medieval scholasticism and Aristotelian thought that was kind of going on for a long time in the Middle Ages and stuff. He's probably most famous for a lot of people with the cogito ergo sum, or ergo sum, I think, therefore I am statement. And this is all about, he's trying to build kind of a framework to sort of build knowledge bases in philosophy on, as well as like mathematics and different sciences and everything. But he was essentially addressing the problem of skepticism. How do we actually know what we really know? How do you know we're not just like getting confused? How do you know our senses are actually accurate? How do you know we're not being deceived and all that kind of stuff? But like I said, I read it like once way back in the day, like 10 years ago or whatever, in my, philosophy, like 151 in class or whatever, and never picked it up again. So I don't know any more details than just kind of like what I picked up from the ether and stuff. So I'm definitely excited to get going on that. I'll leave a link to the Discord down below if you want to join us. We got a lively group sometimes, just talking about different, the group read and sometimes other works that we're into as well. Technically, I've already finished this one. I finished this on the 1st of August, yesterday here. The Ethics of the Climate Crisis by Robin Atfield. Hopefully I can get my video. I have a book review on this. I'll leave a link in the corner and down below as well for this one in particular. It took about 6 pages of notes on. It's only about 150 pages, I want to say. It looks like 153 with like the endnotes and stuff. But this is all about, the whole concept of environmental justice. Who does it apply to? There's like a whole bunch of different theories on, who's responsible for what's going on. Is it people? Is it all the individual level? Is it the government level? Is it businesses and corporations? That sort of stuff. But it deals a lot with kind of the hard science, so you can't like have any of that wishy-washy, you know, oh, so, climate change isn't real nonsense. That they put that, like, it's not even a book dedicated to that. But I hate how like books like this have to have like an introductory chapter just so like the naysayers can like shut up for a little bit. But anyways, like I was saying, it's all about the different kind of ethical conundrums that are going on, such as, you know, just as an example, Pacific Islanders, you know, where their islands, you know, they have total sovereignty, they are like, you know, independent governments and stuff, but if their entire island goes underwater in the next, like, you know, 50 to 100 years or something, what do we actually do with displaced environmental refugees such as that? And then what kind of, like, should we do compensation? What even would that even entail if you can't, you know, you can't bring back the island and stuff, you know, things like that. What does that even like mean? But the book also deals a lot with future populations and generations down the line. Do we owe any obligations to them? Do they have any rights in the current time frame and stuff like that? So I just found it really, really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like I said, hopefully if it's not already done by the time I do this video, hopefully it'll be like the next day, but I'll leave a link to that down below. And I definitely appreciate if you check this one out, because like I said, I'm just trying to, and I've been on a real big philosophy kick lately for whatever reason, so I'm just keeping it going. And then my last philosophy book, I picked this one up last month, is Non-Things by Byung-chul Han. Byung-chul Han is a German philosopher. Originally, I think he grew up in South Korea originally. But a lot of his philosophy, he's a contemporary, still like alive, writing and stuff. I know we always think about a lot of philosophers as, you know, just old dead guys that have been gone for a while and stuff. But, you know, he's still writing books and everything. But they're all pretty short and punchy from what I could understand. But his whole philosophy is about more about like slower living like kind of a more contemplative and thoughtful life, things like that. And kind of avoiding like this super over hyper efficiency culture that we've sort of been like constructing around us. And Non-Things is kind of related to that in the sense of it's all about, in the modern day, we're sort of trading in a lot of like material stuff and objects for non-things, things that are sort of more intangible, such as, you know, like YouTube views and comments and stuff. I'm a total sellout, so definitely leave some comments down below and subscribe and like and everything. But, you know, social media interactions, virtual reality stuff, all these things are becoming more and more important in a lot of people's like daily lives. But it's kind of skewing our perceptions of like value and things like that from kind of the gist that I was gathering. And just sort of how we approach, I guess, like I said, different values and different things in the real world. So I don't know, it just sounded really interesting, and hopefully after I read it, I have just a better understanding of what's going on there, for sure. All right, now let's go on to a couple of history books. So first up, we got Alexander at the End of the World, The Forgotten Final Years of Alexander the Great by Rachel Kouser. And Mariner did send me this book, so thanks to them for that. And Alexander the Great is not a historical figure I really like, to be honest. You can't avoid him. Like, he's just too big. He's just too preeminent in a lot of ways in the ancient world. You just can't get around it. But this is all about his kind of years and campaigns in the Far East in India and stuff, which a lot of people kind of either gloss over. A lot of people don't even realize like how far he went into like India. And that sort of thing, or it gets glossed over in favor of more of like the Persian conquest, like Gaugamela and the crossing of like the river Issus and things like that. I don't know a whole lot. I read Arian like a bazillion years ago, and I think 1 or 2 biographies of Alexander where it was part of it, but I honestly don't remember anything significant from the Indian campaigns themselves. So I feel like this is a pretty decent sized book, just kind of focusing on like a subject. What am I thinking of? So I was gonna say subsector. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just a smaller portion of his entire campaign. So hopefully it'll kind of like stay in my memory quite a bit more. Hopefully this book deals with after the Indian campaign, and then you had the mutiny that he kind of recovers from. The march across the Gadrosian desert. I'm hoping that's kind of covered, because that's like the nail in the coffin why I can't stand Alexander the Great, is that like march back through the desert and stuff. So yeah, like I said, hopefully the book addresses that, and I'd be interested to see what the author thinks on that. So here is another book. Here's one that I started earlier today. We got Fall of Civilizations, Stories of Greatness and Decline by Paul Cooper. And apparently, I didn't realize this at the time, apparently Paul Cooper has a really big podcast on the fall of civilization. So I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be like kind of the history of Rome with Duncan. I don't know if it's gonna be kind of like in a similar vein as that. Hanover Square Press did send me this one, so thank you to them for that as well. And like I said, it's just got an interesting title. I've read where is it? Dun, 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 dun. Wow, I had a book up here, right here. 1177 BC, The Year Civilization Collapsed by Eric Klein. And I also read After 1177 earlier this year, and it just like wasn't my favorite. So I'm hoping like this one kind of fills in some gaps there. This is going to cover not just kind of the major ones like Rome and the Bronze Age collapse and stuff. It had a bunch of stuff in Mesoamerica, as well as in some like Asian dynasties and stuff on their collapses as well. So I'm hoping this kind of gives me like a more rounded perspective on like, you know, civilizational collapse, because you know, who doesn't need any more gloom and doom in their life, right? From around the world rather than just the West. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. I've read the first chapter so far and I've enjoyed it, and yeah, it definitely does. Though I did get a little bit nervous. I was afraid I was going to read kind of just like a, you know, text or speech to text of like the podcast or something like that, but it definitely obviously has been like rewritten and edited and all that kind of stuff, so it's going along pretty well so far. And then lastly, probably the book I'm not gonna lie, this is probably like the most excited I've been for a book in like for that I can even like remember here. We got Polis, A New History of the Ancient Greek City-State from the Early Iron Age to the End of Antiquity by John Ma. And this is all about the entire history of just Greek polis, the city-states of ancient Greece. Ancient Greek history is my favorite by far, and you just don't see many books on them. I guess like I don't know how to explain it. I did read like a history of the ancient Greek city-states by Raphael Seeley a long time ago, and I actually really enjoyed this one. I think I talked about that one at my my top 5 history books of all time and stuff. And I think this is basically just going to be a nice up-to-date like kind of revision of that. I've read the first couple of chapters, and he like a lot of the vignettes, a lot of the case studies are dealing with like minor Greek city-states and stuff, like a few that I never even like heard of. So this is like awesome. There's roughly, I can't remember off the top of my head if it was like 11 or 1200 different city-states. And you always hear about, you know, Sparta and Athens by far and away are like 90% of the time what anyone's talking about when they're talking about like the city-states and everything. And then there's a few others like, you know, Corinth and Thebes and Syracuse and stuff also get some coverage. But then other than like, you know, those top 10 or 12 city-states, you never hear about like anything else. And all of the really big ones are kind of almost outliers. They're so big or have a high enough population density that they kind of act a little bit different than like, you know, the typical city-state and whatnot. But what's cool about this book too is like halfway through, once you get to like kind of the imperial first the conquest of the Macedonians and stuff under Philip and Alexander, and then the wars of the Diadochi and stuff, but then even going on beyond that with like the Roman imperial conquest and stuff, the book continues on during those time periods and how the city-state, how different polis like just survived and adapted and like kind of kept thriving, just kept going, based on like different regimes and different circumstances and stuff. So anyways, like I said, just sounds really awesome, really amazing. I've enjoyed like the first, I think I'm on chapter 3 or 4 if I remember correctly. Just thoroughly enjoying it. This one I'm going to like take my time and just savor because it's so good. And thank you to Princeton University Press as well for sending me that one. So there you have it. Those are all the books I'm going to try to finish. I'm not quite sure. This one definitely has, I think, a little bit higher page count than last time. Though, I guess there's no 1,000-page books like there was last week. John, I'm looking at you if you're watching. But anyways, let me know what book you are most excited to read this upcoming month of August. I'm always on the lookout for great recommendations and stuff. And whatever you end up reading, always remember, read victoriously.